experience. That, especially with Dragon Ball GT, it was like a humbling experience. I'd be like, I'm in Dragon Ball GT, and people would be like, oh yeah.
That's cool.
Neat, I guess. It's the least liked of the. Okay, just let me have my moment. I was hoping for. But once Dragon Ball came out, and these things were on YTV, and I was going to like high schools for career days, and a lot of these teenagers were like, "But I watched that all the time," and it was so. I don't know. I guess it was so affirming. It's just lovely. So there's been lots of fun throughout a lot of these things, but like even like touching the Mega Man franchise and having the first kind of foray into my kind of foppish dandy voice and being lilty and up here and zap zap, and I was like, well, that's really fun for me. Like as a stage performer who does lots of eclectic roles, whether they're like super gruff or super like high pitched and wild. I guess I hate the question to a certain degree because there's just
so much.
It's too limiting. Yeah. I've got 3 kids, and while 2 of them, of course, are mine. No, I'm kidding. But it's not even like children per se, because it's playfulness. It's like, what was your favorite D&D session? Who gives a shit? Just, you go there and you play and you enjoy it, and you have these moments of catharsis, and you get lit up by it, and you take that into your world, and hopefully you're a person from that playfulness that you like more. You like being more, which means you can be it more often, which means it's easier to be the you that you like, so you can take care of the people you like better. It's just like this nice cycle, and I guess that's a little for me, like where it's at is we should continue to try to be expressive people, and these gives us great practice.
Totally.
Yeah. I do remember when the reboot was being made.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I did get the audition, and because I'm like a Gen Xer, so I didn't watch as much as some of my millennial friends. But like, there's the big bad. Megabyte. So they have me go for Megabyte, and I'm doing the audition being like, oh shit, I want this too much. Because if I were to get this, it would feel like now you're in a, even though you're in the reboot, it still felt like it was going to be like this big thing. And for better or for worse, that didn't materialize. But there's been moments like that. When Hisoka was being recast in the States, I was like, but let me try. And they're like, no, it's not about that. None of the original cast is coming back. None of it's being done in Canada. Like, it's just like, yoink, it's going over here. And it's been super cool to see people still excited about what's coming up for Hunter x Hunter, and they're like, what do you know? I'm like, well, A, nothing. But B, also, we don't even know if it would get made and where it would go, because they might do a whole nother studio and cast, because clients are, well, they're clients. Yeah. They're not like the rest of us. They have their own reasons why things will get done. So, any news? Yeah, new.
I'm just wondering, like, for certain like things in Calgary, there's like a lot of support for it, but they're always like constantly donated, like some of events, choirs, or like theater, things like that. Would you say that the voice acting community would support more like Calgary's voice actors and people who are interested in that, like it's fairly healthy? Who would you recommend and like why?
What's the last 4 words you said? Would you recommend it?
Who would you recommend and why? Like the supports for Calgary voice actors.
Sure.
The environment healthy and.
You might have to record this part.
Sure. I mean, certainly locally, that's what Nancy, Mike, and I are trying to do with the Mercenary Co. And now that we've opened up our larger studio, which is an 8 by 9 foot booth, so like before I had a 3 by 3, which meant solo work only. 8 by 9 foot booth, we can have a whole group in there doing wall at the same time. And obviously, like, since we come and we try to be like the local support system for it in the community, obviously that's where I would say, hey, we're trying to do that. And so whether that's going to brendanhunter.com and connecting with me directly, or the Mercenary Co. has a couple of social media accounts, and I'm just trying to remember if it's mercenaryco.com. But anyways, all to say that we try to do that. But then there's local studio infrastructure that also does a lot of casting and training. Like 6 Degrees does a lot of commercial work, and they're right downtown here. Ear Candy's another one, and they do some film and television, like ADR and that kind of stuff as well. Local studios, local studios. I mean, certainly if you can, you know, you look up Chinook Animation and see about getting into the dub world of you know, the Ocean Studios sister station here. But they don't do as much training as they used to. And, you know, after 25 years of people saying, please, please, please gonna be a part of it, they've got a pretty sizable roster and it gets harder and harder to enter into those spaces. But like for Mercenary Co., we're just finishing up our first video game that we premiered at Odafest 2024, and so that's Beyond the Oaks, that's about to come out, and then we're moving right into this next video game. So what we're hoping is that we're going to be able to start bringing more work to Calgary, and it's been really cool for me as a voice actor and voice teacher to now be a voice-over director and be able to hire local community as well as my international colleagues and students. But for the local scene, I guess we're trying to make sure that there is one and that it's robust, because, you know, there have been some pieces and pockets here and there, but they tend not to be sustainable.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are you providing a voice for Beyond the Oaks? Or are you just in the directing chair?
Maybe.
Oh.
Yeah, I will be. I will have a significant contribution to the Beyond the Oaks world, which will be really lovely because I do certainly enjoy performing. But I know that'll also be rare going forward when a lot of the franchises that we're going to be touching upon are going to have a certain amount of stunt casting and celebrity casting that's going to be a part of it. So I suppose there'll always be a space for, you know, for the local voices, whether it's in secondary and tertiary characters, but as well as incidentals, NPCs, and the wall and group stuff that we do. But yeah, you can look forward to hearing Mike, me, and Nancy in Beyond the Oaks, because of course, in fact, I shouldn't give too much away, but we do combine into one entity, and we've done this great like choral recording of all three of us doing those lines, which is very cool for an amalgamation of all of us into a very, well, I shouldn't say anything more. Cam?
So just to like touch on something he said earlier, about,
Yes.
like with the characters and stuff, and not having to worry about like, you know, is this going to impact me? I feel like a good example would be Lena Headey from Game of Thrones, Cersei. I hated the character, but looking at it, I was like, she was so good. She really made me believe that she was Cersei. It just really made me see, it's like her acting ability was incredible. So
Yeah.
I learned to disassociate character from
Right.
the real person. Yeah.
Same story.
Yeah, exactly.
Joffrey.
Yes. And I was just
Yes,
curious
yes.
also.
He had a hard go.
Yeah, exactly. I
No,
was just curious.
sorry, can I add
Oh,
on to
yeah,
that?
for sure.
It's so fascinating that when actors portray these characters, and then after, like, these easy-to-hate characters, and then they go out on the street and people actually, like, throw things.
They have a visceral reaction to
Yeah.
that
I
actor.
hate this character, and
Yeah.
then when, like,
And what was he, 15?
Yeah.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
really young, and, like,
You know, what an opportunity, what an experience, and then what a punishment.
the guy who played Gus in Breaking Bad, Giancarlo Esposito, and, like, people are scared of him because of his role.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really interesting how that,
Yes.
that psychologically affects people
Yeah.
when you. play
Yeah, and I think
that.
voice actors get away with a bit more because it's not our face
Mhm.
saying the words, which helps a little bit to keep it, I guess, somewhat compartmentalized.
If
We
you
can
cosplay-
separate those
if you-
easier.
If you cosplayed as Hisoka and then did the
Oh
voice,
my goodness.
that wouldn't be very.
Like what, shave?
Very-
I'll just hire a cosplayer that's like lithe and long, and they'll walk around and we'll have scripted things, and they'll just do like a Muppet mouth thing, and I'll say famous quotes, and it'll be hilarious.
With the, you bring that up,
Yeah.
are you able to, I know this might not happen here, what a script actually looks like? Because
Yeah.
I'm curious, because, you know, we talk about it, we talk about like the scripts and everything, but I've never actually seen one, so.
So yeah, so imagine if you will, it's like an Excel document script,
Okay.
and so you've got a number of columns, and so you've got the line count, the time code, which character is talking. The biggest box will be your text box, and that'll also include like stage directions, such cues as to whether or not your character is on screen or not, M&S, mouth not seen or not, so that you can start to like prepare for what you're about to watch, and then the time code shows you what your in and out points are down to the frame, right? So it might go up to 30 frames. And so within that, you know, you've got like a minute, 20th frame, and that's where your starting point will be. And then as you get prepared to do that, you can look at the big block where it's got your text. It might have also exertions, reactions, mouth shapes, like it might say clenched teeth, or CT, CM, closed mouthed, OM, open mouthed. So you kind of start to get a sense as to what you're about to embark on. And then you watch the screen, they show it to you, which is really fun because you get to watch the show while you're about to do it. And that's me, okay, that's me. And I'm gonna say this, okay. And then they'll get the engineer to line up the pre-roll. And so it'll start to play a few seconds before your spot. And then in your headphones, you'll hear beep, beep, beep. And where the fourth beep would go is the right point for that character to be contributing. And then they'll kind of take a look at it, and they'll maybe move it around by a frame or few that they need to. And they'll let you know if it fits and if it works performance-wise, or if it's short or long, or if the performance just isn't right. And a lot of times we'll listen to the OJ or the original Japanese, and we'll get a sense for timing, we'll get a sense for pace, because we often don't know, until we see it and hear it, what this is. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm guessing that because of that, it's very common it's a very common experience to not quite get it right the first try, and have to do it several times in a row. I don't know what it is about me, but I just feel kind of terrified at the prospect of you get it wrong the first time, and everybody else already knows what they're doing, so.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Thank God that's not true.
No, and you know what, sometimes it gets annoying that you're doing one line a dozen times. And that's fair, to get frustrated, to get annoyed. But the reality is, sometimes you can't get to the right take until you've done all the wrong takes. And that's annoying, but that's somehow just how the human body works. You have to get the crap out of the way until the mine shaft can offer you gold again.
Honestly, it's a lot less harrowing of an experience to be annoyed at having to do it over and over again than to feel like you only have one
Practice
shot.
is progress, and perfection doesn't exist. So I think we all just start to look at, that one was weird, laugh it off, go again. And a lot of times, we will have to change, we'll have to re-go in the middle of it because a flub occurs, like you screw up on the second word, there's no reason to finish. It's not usable. So you just let it go, they go going again, they press the beeps. It's like a rewind, it's like a do-over, it's like a mulligan, and nobody's mad. All they want you to do is be able to succeed, but there's no pressure to be a one and done. All right, someone new.
So on that note, out of curiosity, how long has it, what was the longest, have you done with it, with the same line over and over, trying to get the right take? What's the longest one, out of curiosity?
It'd probably be torturous to try to remember that. Like all I mean is, I guess I could probably speak to that as sometimes it's like what I just said, where you're starting to get really internally frustrated because it's becoming embarrassing now. This is take 12, and what is wrong with me, and the self-doubt and the self-deprecating and the self-critic is starting to really take root and say, you're bad, you don't deserve this, everyone's mad at you, which just makes me, as like anybody else, start to really shut down.
What sucks is we are our own worst critics.
Exactly. And so I've had to retrain my own inner dialogue where I get frustrated too. Like I want to flip tables, I want to pound walls, and luckily they're mostly like soft, baffled walls, but still, how unproductive that has proven to be because it takes me out of the energy, it takes me out of the zone, and I have to get more and more okay with letting it go. And as a pretty analytical person, I ruminate a lot. I get hard on myself. My inner critic is typically berating me into betterment instead of encourage me into betterment. And those are things I've had to work at with my own personal relationship. Even such things as self-compassion, self-kindness, things that I took a long time to start including in my self-relationship because I didn't think you deserved it. I'll be nice to myself when I'm good. What is that about? How would we treat our friend or our loved one or our child or our pet if we will love them when they're good? But we do that to ourselves all the time. And so, as just a regular human who had to go through a lot of that, really, you're so embarrassed, you feel like you're failing in front of people and that everyone's mad at you, reminding yourself that no, they hired you to be a problem solver, and problem solving is often trial and error and failing forward until you could only solve it because you hit all the banks of what was possible until you could come to a real harvest at the end.
understand a lot of Japanese voice lines in anime have a lot of like a lot of flowing syllables and like. Is it
Yeah.
is it really hard?
Lost in translation is definitely a thing.
When you have those English, when you have that English script and you have to fit that voice line in the span of what they're lip syncing,
Yeah.
is it like really awkward sometimes?
Yeah.
Are you kind of like
We're
kind of mad at
rewriting-
the writers for having wrote it this way?
No, they're trying their best.
Because
There's moments where like, whoa,
there's
way off there, Gary.
There's a certain flow to things, and like you, like sometimes when you finish a sentence, you like immediately have to start the next sentence to fit everything in that space.
Yes.
Is that?
Part of why dub often doesn't work, and for people that are purists and really prefer subtitles, with original language, is because it's really unnatural. A lot of the times, what we are doing is piecemeal. Like I'll come in and do a line here, a line there, a line there, and a line there, with no context. Maybe no one else has recorded yet, and then someone else will come in, and it's all these puzzle pieces that get put in, and a good director will hopefully have a good sense of flow as to, hey, when Brendan's character says this, it should sound like they are trying to achieve this kind of connection, other than just saying, my line is now! And you get dubs where you're like, fucking unwatchable. Like, nothing against Akira, but that for me was, the subs, it saved it in Akira. Like, I was trying to watch it dubbed, I'm like, cool effort, bro. But the original, right? Like the original dub down back in the 90s or 80s or whatever it was, right? It was just, it was rudimentary and it was all disjointed and nothing felt like connected. And I'm like, it's functional, but I don't want perfunctory. I want to connect with, and so even though I don't understand the language, having it done in its original language as I read the subtitles, my body and mind gets much more aligned when it's done well. And I think good dub work should be noted because when it's done well, it's in spite of all of these challenges. And yeah, having to match mouth flaps, I've seen a lot of dubs lately where I'm like, oh, they don't try. They don't bother trying because it's frustrating. But the ones that do often have to massage it on the day, and sometimes that means the engineer just speeds it up 10% so that it fits, or sometimes we rewrite it and go, you know what, we're saying basically the same thing, but we're going to drop that word or replace it, or just say the same thing in a different way. And that's kind of fun, because then you feel like you're part of the problem solving in real time in the studio with them.
It's hilarious thinking about the speed racer dub, and like they go, I'm going to race and I'm going to turn this corner, aww, and they have to just kind of fill the voice.
Well, it's like the English dub of Ghost Stories.
Yeah.
Well, there's a little creative license going on there.
That's done.
So I just noticed that there's like red smudge. Is my nose all red?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, not anymore.
Yeah.
All right, back to
I
you.
was wondering if they ever edit the animation itself or the video itself to match a performance in Activision. So it's like there was
Certainly some product does come and has new censorship laws that need to be re-edited. So famously Sailor Moon, right? So Sailor Moon initially had just a lot more nudity, and so when it was being done for North American markets, and not that I don't think it was gratuitous, but it was certainly noticeable that, oh, okay, so as like, you know, clothing is gone, and those are body parts, and those are more nude bodies, so things were being changed on that kind of a front.
match the like mouth flaps, like a reversal of what.
In most product, the answer would be no. It's more work than it's worth, and with modern technology, there is a lot more agency to be able to change that and go, okay, we've got the action and we've got the character, and then, you know, with algorithms and databases of what mouth shapes are more aligned, there's lots of ways that now, like they'll just sub out certain portions of the screen, like the mouth, but again, that takes more effort and more money, so whenever possible, they just keep the edit locked, and we try our best to help that edit come to life in the new language.
Yeah.
Sure.
One more question. Not exactly about being an actor, actually. In your opinion, as having done, I want to say, doing directing and acting,
Yeah.
that what would you say are the do's and don'ts of being a director? Have you ever had a really good experience with a director or a really bad one that you care to share with us?
I think it would always be, if you've got the time, it would always be a benefit to not try to give the actor a line read, but try to give them influence and understanding that will hopefully get them to their own interpretation of what you're hearing in your head. Like, everyone's gonna have that, right? They see the line, they get an instinct as to, it'd be really cool if it was said like this, but it takes a lot of empowerment away from the artist. And we get there in some places. It's like, you know, we do it 6 or 12 times. We're like, do you want to try it a little bit like da 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 da? And then they give you something in that vein, and you're like, finally one that I can make, edit, and make work. But a lot of times, I think if we stay away from doing that, we don't only get surprised with an artist's great choice, but we get surprised with a choice we'd have never thought of. And those are wonderful moments of where inspiration and collaboration meet, where I hire you to be a problem solver, and I'm there to try to encourage that and nurture that and guide that to succeed. But the more that I start to say how you should puppet your own meat suit, the less valuable it is for you, the artist, and the more I'm not a terribly good director, I'm a dictator.
We'll try to keep that in mind.
Yeah. But I think we get there sometimes, you know, especially if it's been, well, think about it like this, or what if you were trying to get this response, or if the reaction was this, what might that look like, or your moment before is this now, give us a chance to understand how it comes out with that new information. And you get these interesting ideas, but sometimes it comes down to, I think we'd really like one that's like, da 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 da. And you always feel a little bit bad asking that for after all the trying. But sometimes the artist just has never considered that way, and for you, that's like the way, and you should give them as many chances to play and to try and give you a way to be surprised, rather than saying, I only want it the way I like it, which is a little bit small. You know, that's a shallow way of approaching it. But sometimes as a director, you're also trying to be like, I want to make sure it matches what comes before or after. Like if I go, I don't want to do this anymore, and the other person's like, me neither. It's not going to work, right? We have to something that matches the reality. We want it to feel possible. If it's based on something, it tends to sound like something. So, yes, new friend.
Just a question. What do you think about abridged dubs?
Well, after Hunter x Hunter closed, I probably did 2 or 3 abridged dubs as Hisoka for really ridiculous ones where it was very naughty. And
For real?
yeah. You can find Brendan Hunter, Hisoka abridged, and you know there was quite a few projects. And while I said, you know, like my only caveat is that I need to be paid something so that I can say that, you know, it was paying bills for me and my kids, and I can always defend that to the extent that any artist should be allowed to try to make money. But also it was a fun way of retouching the character in a playful way, and also the fandom, which I was starting to get to know by touring the conventions and being like, yeah, shoot, I didn't know if I should ever talk about that character because, you know, they're problematic, and they're like, actually, we think that show is really fun, we think that character is really interesting, we'd like to do all these goofy things. And I was like, well, then I started doing AMV collabs too, right? Like you can look up Hisoka, Fight Me Maybe, Carly Rae Jepsen's Call Me Maybe parody, and that's me singing the song, but from Hisoka's perspective, and it's fun, right? I've got like a Christmas song out, like it's just all kinds of things that people are like, would you? And I was like, I like to say yes as much as possible. I like to say yes, so if I can, say yes to what you can say yes to. And when it doesn't align, remind yourself you get to say no to things too, but why not say yes to as much as possible? So that's even for me been fan dubs and abridged and weird things, and you know, people emailing me saying it's my sister's birthday, she thinks you're cool, would you send a little audio? And I'm like, how touching that this would be someone's, I don't know, that they would find that meaningful. I'm being gifted that. Why wouldn't I try to say yes? Yeah. Still here? All right.
Yeah, just one quick question. What's the most memorable blooper you've had in a voice in your voice
Blooper?
acting? Yep.
What?
What is blooper?
A blooper would be just like a flub or a mistake, but I mean, like, we will try to make each other crack and break and laugh on the day, especially if you're doing Walla. Like in Walla, it's like layers of group voicing, right? So you and me and her and him, we'd all crowd around the microphone and we would be like, okay, so for the next 45 seconds, you know, this is the scenario, this is what you guys represent, let's have some improv. And sometimes we'd have conversations to each other about that world, and they'd be like, okay, now we're gonna do another layer on top of that, and it starts to get sillier and sillier as we try to put jokes and and weird little moments between each other into what's going to be just a din of sound, right? There's layers of sound making a cacophony of weirdness. But we'll be like listening, like, oh, I heard the punchline to the joke that we no longer hear the setup for. But we would have such a great time doing that because Dub World is often isolated and alone. And even in those instances, you're still like, you know, if you've got a good relationship with the director and the engineer, which you typically do after a few seasons or even a few sessions because you want to have fun while you're doing this, you'll start to add things in and intentionally like screw up the line for a laugh. And knowing that they're never going to use it, but knowing that it's a fun thing that did get recorded, that wouldn't it be funny that, you know, like things like, you know, like Tien and Chaozu were always an interesting dynamic, right? And so while I would often like do kind of like big brother things with Chaozu and Tien, or just like, I think at one point I was coming off some kind of like battle where I'd lost or something like that, and Chaozu's kind of like doing that, it's okay, you'll get them next time, Tien. And I said something like, you're the only one that believes in me, Chaozu. And obviously we don't use that in the take, but we get a laugh out of it because we're getting to have that moment, and it's just fun. Sure.
Where did you get that smoke barrel whiskey?
That's just at 118 Empire in the main lobby of the Marriott there. So 118 is a place that I've visited a few times because they'll bring the barrel right to your table. They've got all the woods you can choose from for different smokes. And I'm not purporting that anyone should, you know, start drinking alcohol. But if you do like old fashions and whiskeys and bourbons, they do it's expensive, but they do a great job of making quite a presentation of smoking the glass. You choose your sugars and your bitters and your syrups, and it's just quite a production. You get to choose which kind of bourbon or whiskey that you like, which just makes every drink you choose an adventure.
Looks so good.
It was delightful. And I went for a really weird one because I've been there 5 or 6 times. So I was like, okay, they have a new menu, they've got new weird things on it. I went for like, I think it was walnut, was the wood smoke. I want to say honey was my sugar. So instead of a sugar, I chose a honey. And then I chose Szechuan for my bitters, and I was like, what are we gonna have? And it became quite an interesting, like it was a little spicy with the Szechuan, but the honey was also very nice, which I'm a big believer in honey because it's not just good for us, but it's antimicrobial. So if you ever have like a sore throat and you're like, why do people have honey and honey and cinnamon in their tea? Well, the honey is antimicrobial and helps to like kill the things that want to take root on our systems. So I had this lovely drink last night to celebrate. We did it! The big day is done. Yeah. Well, I don't think it's ever a good idea to put harsh alcohol on your vocal cords, but they also give you a big cube, very clear cubed ice that takes like 24 hours to cure perfectly in this spherical mold. I'm pitching it too much. Let 118 know that they need to put me on some kind of like a sponsorship thing where I get 1 drink a week. 1 drink a week I don't think is alcoholism. I think that's just appreciation. 1 drink a week.
I'm sending this to them now.
Hey, thank you. Yes, Ken.
So just a question with that, like I didn't know that, so I would refer to you as a local celebrity with not everybody else, right? So why not look into getting your own whiskey brand and possibly it'd be another stream of income. You have the following here, microbreweries and all that stuff are very, very popular, and even more so as time goes on. Why not look into it, and then eventually
I guess it's worth talking about.
You can start making, especially as video games and stuff where you have your own original content, you can put those characters as, hey, this character's drink.
It's the limited edition, so-and-so, Odafest 2027 special edition.
Called I Taste Blood.
You still get to be artistic, but at the same time you get another stream of income that.
Well, you know, it might not work for a smaller game like Beyond the Oaks, but bourbon in oak casks,
I love bourbon
Beyond
too.
the Oaks version could be a way to also help the local indie Canadian game industry. But you know, to your point, I think I've been able to do this a long time with a certain amount of groundedness and humility, because outside of Odafest, I'm delightfully normal, and well, normal's a but you know, like voice actors do have a certain anonymity. And if I were to get to a space where
I mean,
I had more credibility, maybe it's something that's
I just figure something you enjoy, obviously, is you
Sure.
like a good drink, so
Sure.
why not take something you enjoy and see if you can still do something extra.
yeah. I mean, alliteration's fun too. Like Brendan.
I know I'll never be the same. Shook my world so hard again. Wish I washed away my sins.